welcome to the Concussion Protocol podcast. I'm Chase, and I'm here with Connor and Chance. We're doing a deep dive today on the ACC and talking about what we believe is going to come out of that conference. And Chance, I believe you have a lot more to talk about than me right now, so let's lead it with you.
Yeah, I've been trying to look into ACC more. Traditionally it's not a conference that I have paid attention to as much as some of the other ones, but I really wanted to get a deep dive in, find out a little bit more about these teams, where they're at, where they're going, and I think it's going to be a really intriguing conference this year. So I think we're going to have a good conversation. The first thing I want to start out with was the state of the ACC. They've been kind of up and down, and it seems like this is a pretty important year for them. I feel like they've got to have something going for them, or there's been conference shakeups. There's been different things, rumors about teams wanting to leave. They've got to put it together this year, right?
Yeah.
I mean, do you have any opinions on that, Connor?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. The ACC for the last 15 years now almost has pretty much been the Clemson show. There were a couple years where Florida State seemed like they were returning to their glory days, and I am not going to say that the program has fallen apart. I think they were the straw that broke the camel's back as far as the 4-team playoff finally just imploding on itself. It's unfortunate that it had to be Florida State, or rather it's unfortunate that it was Florida State, but it had to be somebody. We all knew that it was coming pretty much from the inception of the 4-team playoff. We knew that somebody was just going to get absolutely wrecked in spite of being super successful. And it was Notre Dame a couple times, but they were, in the neutral conference. Then it was a couple of group of 5 teams, and people were like, oh, I don't know. It really matters. And then it was 13-0, pristine on both sides of the ball, Florida State. And guess who got in instead?
Another victim of the committee and Alabama.
Oh.
And obviously they fell apart after that in a spectacular way. There are still people that I will see on social media saying, "Oh yeah, Florida State wasn't even that good that year because they got destroyed like 60-6 or whatever it was by Georgia." Give me a break. Let's set the record straight right now that team was gutted before that bowl game. Absolutely gutted. They were starting seriously like 6 true freshmen in that game. Their starting quarterback, I believe that was their 3rd string quarterback. That was not the Florida State team that was steamrolling people all the way to a conference title.
Well, I think that's why the committee decided to go away from them, right? It was because they felt like they were losing players. But I'm a big merit guy. I mean, I know Alabama had some claim to, hey, there's injuries, maybe we're a better team, maybe or maybe not, but why does the regular season matter then? There has to be some merit to what you did. And Florida State went undefeated. How could you not have them? Of course, then the ensuing season kind of maybe even though they had merit to make it there, maybe there were some holes. And honestly, I have no idea. I don't think anybody can sit here and say, yeah, we know why Florida State had the season they had. I mean, nobody in their wildest dreams had them winning 2 games last year. It was ridiculous. Unless, Chase, you've got the answer.
I definitely don't. I watched them the 2 prior seasons on opening day, beat LSU both times. One on a missed point after attempt after Jaden Daniels ran down the field and scored an amazing touchdown. And I watched them absolutely demoralize me on day 1 of 2 seasons with Brian Kelly. So I definitely expected more from Florida State, and that's really underselling it from what they did last season. To go from 13-0 in the regular season to a 1 win in conference, bottom of the ACC, was insane. I don't understand how bad the locker room must have been to be on that team during that time. It saddens me to even think about, because that is a great program with a great history behind it, and it was honestly sad to see, even though I obviously was not a big fan of them after beating us in opening day two seasons in a row. So
yeah. Good news is that program has only up to go now. And I think that's kind of the ACC as a whole is Miami surprised a lot of people last year, and Clemson has a lot to be excited about, especially in the passing game. But it's going to be who else is going to become competitive. Because, yeah, Miami was good last year. Obviously, they had the number 1 draft pick and the Heisman, and a Heisman finalist, rather. But were they a flash in the pan? Miami, over the last, basically since they won that title in 2001 with one of the best teams that has ever set foot on the field, they've been super inconsistent. And can they finally do it? Can they finally actually become a contender where people think, oh, look, Miami's good again, versus no, Miami's just good this year,
Yeah, I think some of the irony of the ACC right now is you have a couple teams that are kind of wishy-washy, right? Are they going to find a way to escape the conference? Are they going to stay? And those teams are the ones that FSU. What happened? You really want to leave? You really want to go to the SEC after that? There's those struggling teams. And then you see a team like SMU. They barely get into the conference, after waiting and waiting. And then they make the championship game. I mean, what a crazy story. And then you get a team like Syracuse, where it's like, where did Syracuse come from? How are they beating the crap out of everybody? So it's such a great conference, and I think the state of it is it's in a good place coming in this season. I think there's a lot of teams that have a lot of good chances and hope to maybe make a playoff splash. I think there's a handful that we can look at. Moving on a little bit, and maybe this will be back to Florida State. Who's on the hot seat? Are there any coaches that's like, this is the year? We got to make it happen this year, or you're gone?
I think Mike Norvell is not on the hot seat this year. No, okay. I don't. I think that he really does have enough reputation built up from the first 3 seasons of how he was clearly able to build a successful program. And he has been only with successful programs in the past, starting at Arizona State, go Devils, with his first real big gig running that offense. Where when he was the offensive coordinator, that was a ridiculously good offense most of those years. It was the reason that Arizona State was very average was because the defense was just absolute garbage. Then obviously first head coaching gig goes to Memphis, takes the backup quarterback from ASU that year, and all of a sudden almost wins. I think that was the Sugar Bowl over Penn State in an absolutely brilliant game, and then goes to Florida State and continues his excellence with rebuilding a team that was really struggling at Florida, as Florida State was, and it took him a couple years, but he did it. He did it the right way. He brought them back to prominence, and I think that people look at his resume and they're willing to give him a lot of room to grow because he's proven it over and over again that he knows how to do it. I'm not worried about Mike Norvell.
So you think that if they had the exact same season as last season and they win one conference game, that he's not going to get fired?
That's tough. What I'm saying is I don't think that that's going to happen.
All right, give me a record, Connor.
I think they go back to a bowl game this year. I think their ceiling is 8. I think their floor is 5. I think they'll improve dramatically. Let's look at their schedule, just because maybe I'm missing something. But from what I've seen out of them, I've seen 5 games certainly be doable. They open up the season with
1 versus Alabama.
Yeah. So that's going to be a tough one for them. That's going to be a really, really tough one for them. And I'm not saying they're going to rise back to the ranks of the top 15. Even I really don't see them even finishing the top 25. But making a bowl game is going to be obviously a massive improvement. That'd be tripling their win rate year over year. But then right after Alabama, then you got East Texas A&M. Never even heard of that school. Kent State, Virginia, Miami's going to be tough. Pitt's going to be tough, depending on which Pitt shows up by the middle of the season.
Beginning of the season Pitt or second part of the season.
Exactly. Who knows what Stanford's going to show, but Stanford has shown 0 signs of caring about improving their football team. That's I really do. Virginia has a tendency to pull an upset once in a while, especially at home, but I don't know. I'll believe it when I see it. It depends on if Florida State can, actually elevate. So then you got, Virginia Tech, NC State. Wake Forest is another one. Yeah, I could absolutely see them winning 5 games, and then if they go 50-50 in their other tougher games against Florida, NC State, Clemson, Miami, and Alabama, if they even win one of those, which would be hard to do. That'd be tough, especially because NC State and Florida are both on the road at the very end of the season. But I could see them making a bowl game. Highest ceiling 8. Don't think they're getting through any. I don't think they're going to avoid losing 4 games.
Do you share that sentiment, Chase? That hey, if we get to a bowl game, then we're going to keep Mike Norvell.
I experienced the high of highs watching the 2019 LSU team win with one of the best seasons ever, arguably the best season ever, with Ed Ogeron. And the next season, he had a very, very subpar, even season, and he got fired that same next season after they signed him to a massive extension. So I know that there's a lot going with his history, and it's better than Ogeron's was in the past at like Ole Miss and prior to that, but I don't know if he can just scoot in for a 6-6 and get a bowl game and then be rewarded with keeping his job. I think he is on the hot seat if he can't win at least 7. I think he needs 7, 8.
You think that they would need to more than triple their win rate from the previous season?
From one conference win? Yes. From one conference win.
The bar is real low.
It's a low bar, but you're telling me that in one season if he's able to recover to making a bowl game from going from the pinnacle to having the steepest drop that you could possibly take in the sport. You're saying that they wouldn't say that last year was a fluke. We're obviously getting on track and give him a break. If he only improves by 1, then
if he wins,
one game gives you 3 wins, Connor.
That's what I'm saying, though. If you're telling me if he goes from 2 to 3 wins, then we're having a different conversation. But I would if they're 5-7 with a couple of those being close games, if they're showing they can compete, I'd keep him.
They would have to be.
He's done nothing but win everywhere he goes.
You're not the president of Florida State athletics, so I don't think you get a vote in that. But I really no. I think even if they played all those games close and they lost all those big games like Florida, Clemson, Miami, like if you lose all of those games, you don't give any hope to that program. That there's no way they.
I also think that to your point, I still think to this day that the Ed Orgeron firing is one of the biggest travesties in the history of that program.
I think firing any coach after one bad season is pretty ridiculous, especially following a championship the year before. I mean, you're gonna have a hangover. Like it happens to most teams. Do not back to back. That is not a normal thing in most sports. So I definitely did not enjoy that next season. Trust me, it was really a hard watch. The biggest highlight of that season was watching that Florida Gator chuck our player's shoe down the field and give us a 15-yard penalty that ended up with us kicking a field goal and winning the game. So I can't get on anyone's side who wants to fire a coach after one season, but after 2 bad seasons at a really good history school like Florida State, like they are a competing team. They're constantly in the conversation, whether we think they're going to win it all or at least they're going to win their conference and have a chance at something.
Yeah, we're not talking about a team that went 2-10 having the expectation of winning 7 games. This was a team that was a top 5 preseason team and just blew it in every way. I think there are a couple of factors in here. One, I think the buyout money is a lot. So I think, unfortunately for FSU, that buys them a little bit of time. You don't want to pay out money for forever to this guy after he loses one season. So he gets a little bit of grace because you owe him a lot of money. Two, I think the important thing for Florida State this year is how can they build back the program? And that doesn't mean that we need to win 10 games and compete for a championship. I think it means, hey, how can we get back to recruiting well? They've been struggling a little bit out of high school. How can we, get a bright future that we can get some transfers in, that we can build upon the success of this year? I think that's going to be the key. If Florida State can't build on some sort of success or high moments of this year, he's gone. And usually the key indicator for me when I can see somebody's got the writing on the wall is when they gut all the coordinators, when they're gone, and then you're left with your head coach.
But who did he bring in? Who did he bring in as that coordinator?
You can bring in whoever you want. I don't care. But like when you gut all your coordinators, that says, hey, you head coach are on your last straw. And instead of getting rid of you, we're getting rid of your coordinators because you're saying it's their fault. We're going to bring in Gus Malzahn. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, you can't even do it with him. You're all gone.
You got two things going for you at Florida State this year that are already going to make a world of difference. You've got Gus Malzahn as now your offensive coordinator. I think Gus Malzahn.
You love that, right, Auburn fans?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not saying he's.
It's been a while since he's done something, but yes.
I'm not saying that he's going to be the most incredible head coach. I think that this is a good move for his career to step back and focus. I think Chip Kelly is having a renaissance year of his own career because he's sticking to what he knows. I don't like to give Ohio State any kind of credit at all, but hiring Chip Kelly as the offensive coordinator saved their season and turned them into national champions last year. You got Gus Malzahn as the offensive coordinator, and you don't have DJ as your quarterback anymore. That was
But who did they bring in? Who did they bring in? They brought in a guy who lost his job at BC.
I mean, I'd rather have him than DJ. I don't know if I want DJ starting on my Turkey Bowl team, man.
Yeah.
That guy has
but it doesn't look good either way. I mean, Castellanos, he's great with his feet, but can he throw a forward pass? And I don't know, maybe Gus Malzahn likes that type, so maybe he can make something of him. But I haven't seen him be able to throw a forward pass.
I would dare say that I don't even know who the OC at BC is, but I guarantee you Gus Malzahn is going to get more out of Castellanos than Boston College could.
I would hope so.
Yeah, we'll see. On to another head coach. That's an interesting take. Bill Belichick. Thoughts?
Where do we start with that guy?
You guys have probably a different opinion, perhaps, having seen an NFL legendary coach at the college level. How is this going to turn out?
Talking to Herm Edwards?
Yes.
I would. I would be very hesitant to put Herm Edwards in the same category as
Bill Belichick.
You're right. Herm Edwards doesn't have a 19-year-old girlfriend.
That's fair.
Hey.
Yeah.
Hey, she's like 25 now.
Fair. I mean, he swears he's not distracted, but I mean, that's where all the cameras go.
He's great with the kids.
Yeah.
Is this going to turn out to be good, or is it going to be a disaster?
What do you think? What's your opinion on
What do I think?
Yeah, what do you think?
Well, I don't think they have a good team this year. I mean, they have a decent team, but it's not going to be something that embellishes and makes Bill Belichick look good. I mean, unless he can turn water into wine, I don't see how this is a good move for him. It might take a couple years. I could see a couple years down the road if he was diligent and he got the hype and he did something like a Deion Sanders, who had probably the worst team in college football, and turn them into competitors. I can see that, but I don't see championships lining up. I don't see that level of success.
Not in this conference when you have to go through SMU, Miami, Clemson, and up-and-coming Syracuse, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, I think North Carolina would just have to throw money at everybody, and maybe they're committed to doing that, but it's going to take time, and I don't see Bill Belichick having that time. His girlfriend's getting older every day, guys. She doesn't have the patience for that.
Yeah, I agree with you. We saw in the NFL how Bill Belichick did when he didn't have the pieces he needed, and his team did not prosper when he lost the pieces that he needed. When he wasn't willing to put the extra money out to get those pieces, we saw his team descend into nothing and a dynasty end in New England. So I don't think he's got the pieces this year. I don't think this is going to be anything special for them this season. I think they'd be lucky to do a little bit better than getting a bowl game, to be honest.
Well, my question for them is like, do I think he actually could do it? Yes, but does he have the time and the patience to build it up to where it needs to be? I just don't see that. He doesn't need that. He doesn't need that in his legacy, in his life. He's getting older. He's not known as a super patient dude necessarily, right? So, I mean, it's mind boggling to me. And people thought it was just a chip to get him to the NFL. Well, the NFL doesn't want him. So how long is he willing to do this? I'm just not sure, but it's interesting to see. I think he'll have an okay year and an okay career, but I just don't get it. I don't get it.
I got a couple of thoughts on it. One, I don't think that whatever happens at UN will tarnish his legacy as one of the best coaches to ever coach the game. I really don't. It honestly has a little bit of Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul vibes.
Okay.
It's going to be interesting to watch for sure, but nobody thinks any less of Mike Tyson because of what happened in that fight. And I don't think anybody's going to think any less of Bill Belichick, whether or not he wins the ACC title, barely makes the Duke's Mayo Bowl, or doesn't even make it to a bowl game.
I don't think
really
Belichick's down there taking snaps, man.
No, I don't think that is going to tarnish his career as a coach. It's an interesting move. It is interesting that to think a little bit deeper into the Herm Edwards comparison. Herm Edwards had been out of the coaching game a lot longer than Bill Belichick has, a lot longer. And while Herm Edwards was not ever nearly as successful as a coach as Bill Belichick, Herm Edwards really did want to win. I did not enjoy most of his tenure as a fan. Just watching the games were hard. There were a lot of weird play calls, inconsistent player development, inconsistent choices of players to start in different situations. It was weird. But one thing that I never doubted was that Herm Edwards deeply cared about winning football games, period. Herm Edwards had no ties. He didn't have any reason to care about Arizona State. Man, did he want to compete. And I'm not getting that vibe from Bill Belichick, and I think that that's the bigger reason. Could he develop players? Yeah. Could he recruit players? Of course he could recruit players. But I don't think he cares enough right now. And maybe I'm wrong. I've never met the man. I don't see it. I see this as he wants to try it. He wants to try his hand at something that he hasn't done in a long time, and he hopes that it'll turn out well. He has the clout to be able to go pretty much wherever he wanted at the college level, and I think that's all there is to it. And I think the UNC fans are not going to like what they see over the course of the season.
Guess we'll see, right? We got to see how it plays out.
Floor is 4 wins for them.
Okay. You heard from Connor. 4 wins. All right.
Yeah, 6 max, though.
All right, moving on. We've got some big out-of-conference games. First one, notably, is going to be Clemson-LSU. And we got a couple of games that we're going to be seeing, or teams that we're going to be seeing a couple times. We're going to be seeing South Carolina. We're going to see 2 teams up against them. Notre Dame, we're going to see 6 games against them. What are some of the biggest out-of-conference games, and what is it going to mean for this conference? Can they win some of these? We'll start with you, Chase. LSU. Can they beat LSU? Will they?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting first game. Obviously, LSU has struggled their opening week the last 4 years. So I have watched them lose to Florida State, and USC in very disappointing manners. So
that USC game was lame, man.
It was, it definitely should have gone the other way, but things happen, and the team did not they did not finish what they needed to. So you got to win your games. You got to finish your games. You can't just play for 3 quarters and then just give up. So Clemson definitely they have a puncher's chance. You know, they're a good program. They do well getting people out of high school all the time. They've been not doing as well since their glory days in like the 2016, 2018s when they were competing for championships. But Dabo he's still a good coach. He had them in the playoffs last season, and it wasn't a terrible game to watch against Texas. But
Great standard.
But they do have a puncher's chance. I'll give them that. But at the end of the day, I think LSU is a much stronger team. They have a lot better players draft wise, and I just think LSU is just going to outperform them. I think this is finally the time they're going to win their first game of the season and get over that hump that they created for themselves. So I think
Clemson's at home. Is that correct?
Yes.
I think so. Yeah, it's a Death Valley for them, the other Death Valley.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
that
Is this
will
the first
definitely
time
make
they've
it.
played since the national championship in 2019?
Yes, since the national championship. They have played, I think, 3 times in the past 15 years, and I think they've won 2 of them. So
and there's some drama. I'm not drama necessarily, but there's some stakes to it. Kate Klubnik and Garrett Nussmeier are both very early on in Heisman consideration, and I've watched plenty of both of their games. They're players that last year, both of them showed flashes of elite level play and really also fell short in some of the bigger games. I would dare say that Garrett Nussmeier fell short in more scenarios, but I think their ceilings are equal.
I think Garrett had more opportunities to fall short. I don't think Clemson had the rough of a schedule to have that many opportunities to choke.
That's probably fair, but they're going to get 2 against the SEC this year. I think they've got to pull away one. They've got to beat South Carolina, or they've got to beat LSU for the conference. Also, the conference plays Florida twice. It seems like they've got 1 or 2 games. I think they've got 2 games against the Big 12, Minnesota and BYU. They've got like 1 or 2 against the Big 10.
Who's this? This isn't Clemson.
No, well, I'm just saying the various teams that are playing out of conference games, right? ACC plays just a handful or just a couple against the Big 12, West Virginia, and BYU. And then Big 10, they've got Minnesota and Illinois. But they've got a ton of games against the SEC. And then they've got a ton against Notre Dame. And they've got to win those games. If they don't win those games, it's going to end up like last year, where it's going to be like ACC. If they get 2, it's because Clemson somehow wins another title when they weren't supposed to and sneaks in, right? And they're just going to be left as an afterthought. So I'm interested in seeing, and obviously week one's the biggest one. We got Miami, Notre Dame, and we got Clemson, LSU. We're going to know the trajectory of the ACC right off the bat.
And Florida State, Alabama.
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess that's a big one for one team. Let's talk about Notre Dame, because Notre Dame plays 6 ACC teams. What's the expectation? Can the ACC win a couple of these games, or is Notre Dame just going to trounce this conference?
That's a tough one. Notre Dame's always weird. I mean, in the last 2 years alone, they've lost to both Marshall and Northern Illinois. And also, made it to the national championship game. They've had in the last 2 seasons 2 of the worst losses in any Power 5 team, and obviously they're not in a conference, but you get what I'm saying. Of any Power 5 blue chip program, and also some of the biggest, like I said, the biggest embarrassments and some of the biggest highs. They are loaded with talent, absolutely loaded on both sides of the ball. But they somehow find a way to blow it, or very nearly blow it against a lot of people. And their schedule is tough this year.
Well, maybe that's why they didn't schedule some of these weaker opponents, because they kept losing to them. Now they don't have any, right? I mean, I'm looking at it. I mean, who's the easiest team on that schedule? Maybe Navy? Purdue, maybe?
Purdue.
I mean...
Purdue's easily the easiest game on their schedule. Maybe Stanford, but you never know.
Purdue, Stanford.
Are they probably going to trounce Navy? Yes, but that's also a rivalry game, so you can never count that one out. And Navy Navy is usually the best of the service academies, and we're not on that subject right now, but I do think that Navy is probably going to be the best of the service academies this year. Army lost a lot of people in the portal this last season. Notably, their star running back, Kanye Udo, went to Arizona State to attempt to replace the very, very big shoes of Cam Scadaboo.
So which ACC team is going to beat them then?
Miami.
Okay, Miami.
At Miami, season opener. If Carson Beck proves that he's worth a damn as a quarterback, which I think he can be, then yeah.
Is there any other ACC team that stands a chance?
Depending on which Pitt shows up, depending on which Syracuse shows up, and depending on if Notre Dame can have continuity. They got a lot of players drafted, and they just had a big injury to very experienced linemen today.
Chase, do you have anybody beating Notre Dame?
In the ACC, I agree with Connor. I would say I only see Miami being able to pull that win. I think every other team in the ACC on their schedule is a game that Notre Dame is going to probably easily take. They might have some, a little bit of a struggle in Boston College on the road. That Boston College does have a stout defense most years, and they do, put up a fight. But I think Notre Dame pulls away. They've shown that they can compete at the highest level in the playoffs, and with their coach has really inspired that team. I think that even though they fell short this last season, I think they really are just, I don't think an ACC team other than Miami right now can beat them.
Notre Dame's a proud program. I'm not going to give them credit before it's due. I think that they have vulnerabilities, and usually my big critique of Notre Dame is that they've got a super soft schedule. But honestly, no, they've got a couple of SEC teams in there.
Yep.
I mean, and
as soon as they throw out USC, right, then it gets tough.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, they've got USC this year, but I have no idea what kind of USC is going to show up.
I don't think even Lincoln Riley knows what type of USC is going to be.
They're throwing USC out the schedule, right? In the next couple of years. Isn't it?
Yeah, but not this year.
Not this year, but in like a year or two, isn't it?
Well, if USC keeps diving, then yeah.
No, I think they've already. I'll have to look at it.
Well, I'd need to have that one verified because Notre Dame Navy and USC Notre Dame are those are two of the biggest games of the year for Notre Dame in general. I mean,
well, that's why it was a big news is that they dropped USC.
That's 50 years worth of football tradition that they'd be throwing out just because USC had a couple of down years, and that's very arrogant because USC is always dangerous to come back.
We'll see. I think for me, Notre Dame, the question marks I have is they keep getting injuries. We just had one on the offensive line, a blue chip guy who had NFL aspirations, and I mean he actually got injured last year and only came back for the playoffs. But they don't have as much depth on the line, and so I think that's going to be a struggle. And then I worry about the QB position. Who's going to win? How are they going to perform? At least Riley Leonard, he can kind of get out of the pocket and extend plays and make things happen when there was nothing there. Who's going to do that this year?
Yeah.
That's my biggest worry, but I do agree with you. I actually do have them sweeping the ACC this year.
You don't even think Miami's going to do it?
No.
You don't think Miami's going to catch a week one at home victory unprepared, especially with Carson Beck, who did not get a chance to play. He didn't get a chance to finish the game against, he didn't play that game at all because he got injured in the SEC championship. So he had to sit on the sidelines while Notre Dame beat Georgia. Supposed to be their challenge. You don't think that he's going to go into revenge mode?
Look, I'm a little more down on him than other people.
I'm not saying he's going to win the Heisman. I don't think he's going to live up to any kind of hype. I'm just saying it's week one.
Well,
lots of craziness.
Can I throw this wrench at you? You had a Heisman quarterback last year, right? Miami did, and they couldn't get it done. And so now you're throwing at me someone who I think is not as good, and you're telling me that he's going to take him there? I don't buy it.
No. Not taking them all the way to the playoff.
Against the national, this team that they're going against went to the national championship. You realize that?
The only team that really, really, really actually put up a fight against Ohio State.
Yeah, and you want to tell me that Carson Beck is going to transfer to a school?
It's not that team. It's not that team from last year.
They've got a lot of pieces.
I'm saying they got a chance. They got a chance at home.
They have a chance. Oh yeah, I'm going to give them a chance.
I'll give them 60%. I say Miami wins that game 3 out of 5 times.
I'll give them 40. I'd say Notre Dame 60, Miami 40. That's where I got it. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, the ACC needs to beat them at least once. They need at least one win. And it has to come down to the Miami game. But if Miami and Clemson lose week 1, ACC's in a world of hurt. They've got to see at least one, if not both, those victories. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Let's move on a little bit. We've talked a lot about some of the bigger guys. Let's talk about maybe some little guys. Who's your dark horse in the ACC? You guys have any dark horses that you'd like to see come up and rise triumphantly?
I got one, and I'm interested to hear if you guys think it's a hot take.
Go for it.
Georgia Tech winning 10 games and making it to the ACC championship.
I don't think that's a super hot take.
You don't think that's a super hot take?
No.
All right.
I think they have one of the best offenses in the country.
I think that Georgia Tech has, I don't want to call it an easy schedule, but I think that they have a manageable schedule that will still keep them sharp enough. Their biggest 2 opponents are Clemson and Georgia. They face 2 Goliaths, and both.
And last year they really competed with Georgia.
Yeah, they did. I mean, 8 overtimes. That was one of
7
the best
overtimes.
games.
8 overtimes.
It was 8. It was 8 overtimes. I watched every single one of them, and it was a sight to behold. And Georgia fans, I feel like, are still shaking in their boots from that game, because that was a wild game that really could have gone either way at any point. And I don't think it was a rivalry fluke. Georgia Tech showed up against a lot of teams, and I believe they took down Miami, didn't they? Like kind of 3/4 of the way through the season. Yeah, they did. I mean, it was a close game, but their defense held up against a number 1 NFL draft pick and arguably the best quarterback in the country last year. Now, granted, Cam Ward had some difficulties during certain stretches, but a lot of that was because of Georgia Tech being better than they were expected to be, and they retain their starting quarterback, who has a lot of experience. That Haynes King is really thriving in his role here.
He's a beast.
He really is a
He's
lot
got
better
grit.
than people are giving him credit for. What's that?
He's got some grit to him, really.
He's tough. He's accurate. He can move. He's a lot more agile. And they've got their starting running back, and they return a lot of other players as well that are more supporting roles like the line and stuff like that. This is a team that they could very easily win 10 games. They could possibly take down, given that they face both Georgia and Clemson at home. There's a chance that Georgia Tech could win 11 games. Now, it's a long shot, but I don't think I think it's a strong possibility that Georgia Tech turns heads this year.
I can see it. That's fair. Chase, who do you got?
Dark horse to win the conference?
Yeah.
You know, I don't think that's that big of a hot take, Connor. I would agree with you. Georgia Tech is a good team. They've shown it even in their downward years. They've competed in games where they were really not supposed to. They're overlooked by a lot of teams, especially Georgia, that end up playing them, and then they compete with them and sometimes upset them. So I do think that is a team that can compete for the ACC. Now, if you're talking competing for a national championship or a real playoff contention, then no, I definitely don't see them as that kind of dark horse, but they are definitely an ACC contender in there for sure. But I expect Miami to win this conference.
You think Miami's going to do it, huh?
Yeah, I think Miami's going to do it.
I think they have a lower chance than Georgia Tech.
I think Clemson is always in the conversation, and even when they had 3 losses before their game, they ended up beating SMU and taking it. So they're always in the conversation. Miami, I think they're the better looking team right now, so I think they're going to take it.
I just don't think they have it.
I know you guys don't believe in Carson Beck, and I don't think he's like a Heisman. I don't think he's the guy, but he has a lot of talent. He just makes way too many mistakes. And I think playing against ACC defenses every game instead of SEC defenses, I think he's going to do a lot better. He's going to have a little bit of a better window for his throws, and I think he is going to do a bit better here at Miami than he did at Georgia. So maybe not for competing for the playoffs, but I think for his individual performances at least.
I think there's some fairness to what you said. Carson Beck, there are some teams that their secondaries are kind of iffy. I mean, they've got great offenses. They've got, I'm looking at Louisville and Pitt, for example. They've got some things going for them. Pitt probably has the best linebacking core. Their secondary, though, Carson Beck could probably line them up. Same with Louisville. Miami, Carson Beck, it is interesting. You did see a drop-off at Georgia. When he went down, as much as I hate to say it, there was clearly a drop-off. That Georgia team was not going anywhere without him. So will he be the savior for Miami? I don't know. But here's what I do know. I got a hot take.
Go for it.
This is not only my dark horse. This is who is going to make the championship game, and it's the Duke Blue Devils. Yep. They're going to make the championship game.
They'll
lose. They will lose to Clemson, but they will make the championship game.
State your case.
There's a couple reasons. One is their stout defense that they had last year, which was awesome. They've got it again, and they're going to be better. Defensively, they are as sound as can be. Put them up against anybody, they'll do really well. It was the offense that really struggled. You had a quarterback that just could not put it together. Malik Murphy, bless his soul, trying to coach kids at Elite 11 who are schooling him. I mean, it was rough. They went out, they spent some money, and they picked up who I had as the second best QB in the portal behind John Mateer, and that's Darian Mensah. I think he is going to be the most
Where was
important.
He last year?
He was at Tulane.
He was not bad.
No, he's great.
Tulane took a dive last year because I think their defense got gutted, and I don't think they had a lot of weapons. But Mensah was solid. They didn't do very well in their bowl game, but
Tulane was a weird team, and they're gonna be a weird team again. They put together the all-stars of the Group of Five. Every year they just get demolished because all the P4s pick all their talent, and then they refill it with the all-stars of the Group of Five and do what they do. But Mensah, he's real. He's going to be. I'm not going to say he's going to put up the best numbers in the ACC because he doesn't have quite the weapons that everybody else has. But he's going to be the most important part. He's going to lead their offense to be proficient enough to make it. Here's the other reason why they're going to make it. Who do they play? I mean, their schedule is so favorable in the ACC that just by default, they're going to win more ACC games than anybody else. Or they're going to tie Clemson. I have them losing against Clemson in the regular season and in the title game.
They play Tulane in their third week.
They do play Tulane. That is crazy. That is.
What are the odds?
Yep, that is the ironic part about it. But, I mean, you look at them and they play NC State, Syracuse, Cal. They do play Georgia Tech.
And Clemson back-to-back.
Okay, those are the tough ones. If they can go 1-1 there, they play UConn, Virginia, but they'll beat UConn. So, I mean...
They're not, right? UConn's still not in the ACC.
No. They're the only other independent.
Notre Dame and UConn are the only remaining independents, correct?
Yep, correct. So, I mean, besides Georgia Tech and Clemson, who are they going to lose to? I mean,
Syracuse.
For me, they're going to be on the verge of making a playoff spot, and they're going to be in the championship game.
I think Georgia Tech's got more. Okay, so what is your claim? Because I think I'm going to have to call you out on this one.
They're going to make the championship game.
You think Duke Blue Devils in the ACC championship?
Yep.
Not saying win, but they're going to be in it.
Yep.
Okay, are you willing to die on that hill?
Yep. I'm willing to die on that hill. They'll make it this year.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have our first hot take.
Unless Chase has to agree to that one.
Are you going to call him out with me?
Let's see. Georgia Tech and Clemson. And so you're assuming that those are two losses, or you think they're going to win those games?
I think they can go 1-1.
1-1. So you're saying that they're going to only have one loss in conference?
Correct.
That is interesting to see for Duke, because they have had certain seasons where they have competed, but to say one loss in the conference.
You look at them last year
when they had 4 losses all to top 25 teams, and they barely squeaked it out against several of them, of the other ones.
Well, I mean, that was their defense, right? Now they've got an offense that they can get that together with them.
You know, I think I'm going to take Connor's side. I think I am going to say that's a hot take.
I am excited to see you guys get punished.
On this day, July 25, Chance takes the hot take that the Duke Blue Devils will be in the ACC championship, and he's willing to die on that hill.
Yep.
They definitely do have the weakest schedule that I've seen in that conference.
A hot take.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to put it right up there.
Right, so everybody can see that note, right?
Yep.
They zoom in with 4K, like 20K.
We may want to invest in a whiteboard. So either way. Well, I think that covers the ACC pretty well, and we ended on a big note.
I think just briefly going through, you've got some other notable teams and good players. I'll go really quickly because I think they deserve some attention. Louisville, they've got maybe the best offense in the country. They're up there with Georgia Tech and some other teams. Can Miller Moss put it together? If you guys don't know, he transferred out of USC. He's got the big arm, and that's Louisville's playbook: is throw the deep ball, get the guy. They've got some talented receivers, so they'll be exciting to watch. Can their secondary hold up? Not sure. SMU returns a lot of guys from last year. Can Kevin Jennings not turn over the ball? Can he be a pocket passer? We'll see. Pitt, they had the up and down year. Really, the down went after their QB and their offensive line went down. If they can stay healthy, can they maybe produce some magic like they did? Maybe. We talked about a couple other teams. BC, for me, I'm iffy on them. They lost a lot of their D-line.
BC is always only going to play Kingslayer. There is way too much. They need a floor-to-ceiling overhaul of that entire program to do anything other than make it to a mid-tier bowl game.
Yeah, it'll be tough.
They've been that way for a long time.
They've had talent, and they do have talent, but they lost some big guys on the defensive line, and that's where they were really good. So we'll see how they can recover.
It makes me sad. They're a likable program with a strong history. I don't know why it's so hard for them to consistently win games, but they really do just struggle as a program.
Virginia Tech, they're ones that need a big year as well. Yes, Chase.
The team that I feel pretty bad for this season is probably Syracuse. They have a really tough schedule. That is a gauntlet of teams that compete. They start off with Tennessee in Tennessee.
Yeah. Chase, I feel bad because I don't feel like they are the worst team in the ACC.
No.
But I have them as the worst record in the ACC because it's brutal. And they're retooling. They lost a lot of firepower. The wins are hard. That schedule is rough, for sure.
Tennessee on the road is the first game of the season. They have to play Clemson on the road. Follow that up by playing Duke at home. Then they play SMU on the road. Then they play Pitt and Georgia Tech. And then they end with Miami and Notre Dame.
Back to
back, both on the road. And then the last game of the season is Boston College at home. That's
got to be a top 10 strength of schedule.
That is a horrible schedule that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy.
It's going to be rough for them. I mean, if they can pick up a couple wins, then they can have kind of a moral victory. Hopefully that'll go through on the recruiting trail because they've got some dudes that they're recruiting. I mean, Syracuse no longer is Syracuse, they're up and coming, but it'll be interesting if they can get some victories, some moral victories at least after this season, because it's going to be demoralizing.
I think because of the difficulty of their other games that they're going to beat Duke at home. So I think that's going to hurt your claim right there.
You know what? The thought crossed it did cross my mind, and
they're going to be angry to lose all those other games.
Yeah, I am worried about that one, to be honest. We'll see how it goes. All right, well, that has been pretty much the recap that I've got for you guys.
Right.
Awesome. Connor, you got anything else to add?
No, this is fun. This is a good preview. It's going to be a fun conference.
Awesome. That is all we have to talk about on the ACC today. Thank you for tuning in to the Concussion Protocol podcast.